My sister demanded I be her surrogate, then faked an application. Now she's pregnant, but the shocking truth changed everything. I never expected to share this on Reddit, but life has a way of surprising you. I'm Sarah, 28F, and my life turned upside down around 6 months ago. It all began when my sister, Angelina, 32F, revealed her pregnancy. Angelina and I have always had a difficult connection. We grew up 4 years apart, so we were never in the same stage of life at the same time. Angelina was always the ideal child, all A's, leader of the debate team, and first chair violin in the school orchestra. In contrast, I was a more free-spirited individual. I fared well in school, but I was more interested in computers and programming. Our parents, particularly our mother, always seemed to prefer Angelina. They would attend all of her recitals and debates, but they were sometimes unable to attend my coding competitions. This caused a schism between us that only widened as we grew older. When Angelina met Tom, 34M, in college, it appeared that her ideal life was complete. They married shortly after college, and everyone expected them to begin a family immediately away. But years passed and no baby arrived. Angelina never said much about it, but I could see it bothered her. Meanwhile, I concentrated on my career. I became a software developer, got a terrific job at a tech firm, and purchased my own apartment. I was content with my life, even though it was not the usual route my parents had envisioned for me. So when Angelina announced her pregnancy, I was ecstatic for her. I hoped that this would finally bring us closer as sisters, but then Angelina dropped the bombshell. I was going to be the surrogate mother. Not asked, told. I was shocked. Angelina and I were not close enough for her to believe I would do something like this. We only communicated once a month, and it was generally simply to catch up on the basics. So for her to simply believe I'd carry her baby was mind-boggling. When I tried to tell her I was uncomfortable with the notion, she dismissed it. "Oh, come on, Sarah," she said. "It's not a big deal, you're not using your uterus right now anyway." I couldn't believe what I heard. Not using my uterus? Was she serious? I tried to explain that becoming a surrogate was a big decision that would impact my body, employment, and life for at least 9 months. But Angelina would not listen. She continued saying how she and Tom had been trying for so long. How this was their final opportunity, and how I was being selfish by not wanting to help. Things worsened when our parents became involved. Mom, 56F, and Dad, 58M, agreed with Angelina, as usual. They began phoning me every day, reminding me how important family is and that I should be willing to do everything for my sister. Dad went further. "Sarah, this is your chance to finally do something meaningful with your life." That hurt. I have a fantastic career, my own house, and a life I'm proud of, but none of that matters now since I refuse to be an incubator for my sister. It felt like I was back in high school, constantly compared to Angelina and left lacking. The pressure continued increasing. Angelina began telling her extended family and acquaintances about her wonderful sister, who would be her surrogate. She even mentioned it on Facebook before I committed to anything. Suddenly, I began receiving letters from relatives, uncles, and cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, all congratulating me for my selflessness. I attempted to correct the record, but Angelina had already spun her story. Anyone I told the truth to either didn't believe me or thought I was overly theatrical. "It's just 9 months, they'd say. "Don't you want your sister to be happy?" But it was more than just 9 months. It was my body, profession, and life. I had recently been promoted to lead developer on a significant project at work. How was I meant to handle it while pregnant? What about the health hazards and possible long-term repercussions on my body? Nobody appeared to care about any of this. The final straw came at a family supper. Angelina had asked everyone around to celebrate her imminent surrogacy. I hadn't agreed to anything, but she pretended it was a done deal. As we sat around the table, she began discussing her nursery ideas and her excitement for me to begin hormone therapy. I could not handle it anymore. I stood up and told them the truth. I stated that I had never consented to be a surrogate, that Angelina had lied to everyone, and that I was tired of being bullied and guilted into doing something I did not want to do. The room became quiet. Then all hell broke loose. Angelina erupted into sobs, claiming that I was spoiling her one opportunity at parenthood. Mom and Dad began yelling at me, calling me selfish and callous. Tom merely sat there, looking uneasy. I left the dinner feeling wild. Was I actually the bad guy here? Was I being selfish by refusing to give up my body and life for 9 months? I didn't think so, but my family appeared to think differently. Since that night, things have been strained. Angelina isn't speaking with me. Mom and Dad keep sending guilt-inducing voicemail messages. Even some of my friends have been strange about it, saying things like, well, if it was my sister, I'd do it. I'm standing my ground, but it's tough. I feel like I'm losing my family over this, but I also can't believe they're putting so much pressure on me. It's my body, so I get to choose, right? The whole issue has brought back a lot of childhood memories, the continual comparison to Angelina, the sensation that nothing I do is ever good enough for my parents. I thought I'd moved on from that, but the surrogacy turmoil has brought it all back to the surface. I tried talking to Angelina one-on-one in the hopes that she would comprehend my point of view, but she refused to listen. She repeatedly says, "You've always been selfish, and you've never cared about anyone but yourself." It's as if she is rewriting our entire history to fit this narrative in which I'm the terrible person. Tom has been strangely quiet during this affair. When I tried to talk to him about it, he simply said it was between Angelina and me. But shouldn't he have a say over who bears his child? His lack of involvement has me skeptical, but I can't put my finger on why. I do not know what to do. Part of me wants to yield just to end the drama, but I know that is not the appropriate motivation to become a surrogate. Another part of me wants to cut ties with everyone and start over somewhere else. I've been considering shifting to my company's office in another city just to get away from it all. But is running away truly the solution? And what if Angelina tries to carry out this surrogacy plan with someone else? Should I warn them? I suppose I'm writing this to test whether I'm nuts. Am I wrong for refusing to be my sister's surrogate? How do I deal with this circumstance without losing my family completely? Any help would be greatly appreciated, as I now feel like I'm drowning in family drama with no way out. Update. It has been 3 weeks since my last article, and the issue has become even more convoluted. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who left comments on my first post. Your encouragement and guidance made me feel less insane about the entire thing. I took your advice to heart and chose to stand my ground. I told my family that I would not be a surrogate, no matter how hard they pressed me. For a while, things were too calm. Last week, I received a call from a number I did not know. When I replied, it was a woman claiming to represent a surrogacy agency. She began discussing how they had received my application and were eager to move on with the process. I was confused at first, then frightened when I realized what had happened. Angelina had filed a surrogacy application in my name. She had taken my personal information, forged my signature, and even submitted medical records that she had obtained in some way. I was furious. This wasn't simply crossing a boundary, it was identity theft. I immediately called the agency back and explained the situation. They were understanding, but suggested that I make a police report to protect myself. I was torn. Filing a police report might land Angelina in significant legal danger. At the same moment, she committed an illegal act and violated my privacy severely. I recalled all the instances in our youth when Angelina got away with something because I didn't want to get her in trouble. Like when she shattered Mom's favorite vase and blamed it on me, or when she stole my car in college and got into an accident. After much thinking, I decided to submit the report. It was not an easy decision, but I felt compelled to protect myself. What if Angelina did something like this again? The fallout was swift and severe. Angelina called me, shouting that I was attempting to ruin her life. Mom and Dad were outraged, telling me that I was ripping the family apart. Even Tom, who had generally been silent throughout the episode, left me a furious voicemail. But this is where things become even more difficult. Remember how I mentioned that Angelina and Tom had been trying to have a baby for years? Well, there's a reason behind that. A common buddy contacted me after hearing about the police report. She told me something I didn't know. Tom had a vasectomy years before he met Angelina. This discovery hit me hard, not only because it meant Angelina had been lying about their fertility issues, but also because it reminded me of when Angelina and Tom initially started dating years earlier. I overheard a chat between them at a family cookout. Tom had mentioned that he did not want children, and Angelina concurred, stating she was also unsure about motherhood. I hadn't given it much attention at the time, but it suddenly felt significant. Tom apparently did not desire children. He told Angelina this when they first started dating, and she stated she was fine with it. However, as the years passed, Angelina got enamored with the prospect of having a baby. She began pressing Tom, who eventually agreed to consider adoption or surrogacy to make her happy. This new information led me to doubt everything. Why was Angelina so desperate for a baby when she had previously been content with not having children? And why go to such measures to make me a surrogate when you could simply adopt or locate a willing surrogate through normal channels? I wasn't sure what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to face Angelina and reveal all her falsehoods. But another part of me felt bad for her. Was she so desperate for a baby that she would engage in such deception? In the end, I opted to speak with Tom first. I met him for coffee and told him everything, including Angelina's falsehoods, the surrogacy push, and what a mutual acquaintance had told me. Tom was shocked. He stated that he had agreed to Angelina's surrogacy plan because he felt it would make her happy, but he was unaware of the magnitude of her deception. As we talked, Tom opened up about his own marital troubles. He admitted that he and Angelina had been having troubles for years, primarily due to their disagreement about having children. He stated he had pondered leaving several times but stayed because he loved Angelina and hoped she would alter her mind about having children. Tom seemed shocked as he exited our meeting. I felt awful for him, but also relieved that the truth was finally being revealed. I wondered whether this would be the push he needed to finally confront Angelina and possibly end their marriage. As for Angelina and my parents, I'm still unsure how to continue. The police are investigating the identity theft, and I'm concerned about what will happen to Angelina. Despite everything, she is still my sister. I keep remembering back to our youth, to the times when we truly got along. Like the summer we spent at our grandparents' farm, sitting up late to watch meteor showers and collecting fireflies in jars. It's difficult to reconcile those recollections with who Angelina has become. Mom and Dad are still not speaking with me. They believe I'm making things up to get out of being a surrogate. It aches, but I'm trying to be tough. I've begun seeing a therapist to help me cope with the stress and complex feelings that this scenario has brought up. I'm seriously considering moving out of state for a while to get away from all the turmoil. My employer has an office in another city and I'm considering requesting a transfer. The prospect of a fresh start is appealing, but I'm also concerned about running away from my troubles. So that's where things are now. My family is in tatters, my sister may be in legal problems, and I'm considering starting afresh in a different city. I didn't expect to be where I am now a month ago, but that is life. I'll keep everyone updated on what occurs next. Thank you again for all of your help, it means more than you realize. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my previous update, and just as I thought things couldn't be any more complicated, life threw me another curveball. First, let me catch you up on what has been happening. Angelina was charged with fraud following the identity theft incident. It was a misdemeanor, but she had to pay a fine and complete community service. Tom filed for divorce, unable to overcome Angelina's falsehoods about desiring children and the entire surrogacy disaster. I did in fact accept that transfer. I've been living in a different place for the past month, attempting to rebuild my life away from all of the family pain. It's been challenging but also refreshing. I've found some new acquaintances, put myself into work, and even begun seeing a therapist to deal with the stress of the last several months. But this is when things take a surprising turn. My mom called me last week. My parents had not spoken to me since the police report, so I was startled to hear from her. I almost did not respond, but something told me I should. When I picked up, my mother was in tears. She managed to tell me about Angelina's pregnancy despite her cries. Naturally, I was perplexed. How could Angelina be pregnant if Tom had a vasectomy and they were getting divorced? Well, it turns out that the baby is not Tom's. It isn't even biologically Angelina's. My mother eventually revealed the truth. Angelina had been lying about everything since the beginning. Angelina is not infertile, she never has been. The entire trying for years story was a pure lie. She wanted me to be a surrogate because she didn't want to go through the pregnancy herself. Apparently, Angelina has always been afraid of pregnancy and childbirth. This concern derives from a horrific occurrence she experienced as a teenager that I was unaware of. When Angelina was 16, she witnessed our cousin's difficult pregnancy and near-fatal birth. It had a lasting impression on her, instilling a strong fear of pregnancy, but Angelina too desperately wanted a baby. Or so she thought. When Tom told her he didn't want children, she saw it as an ideal chance she might play the needy infertile wife and coerce someone else, me, into carrying a baby for her. But when her plan with me fell through, she panicked. She began seeing this person behind Tom's back, let us call him Mike. Mike got her pregnant and Angelina is suddenly confronted with the same situation she was attempting to avoid. I was speechless. All of our family's drama and pain sprang from Angelina's fear of being pregnant. It seemed too ludicrous to be true, but as my mother talked, more truths emerged. My parents stated that they had been aware of Angelina's pregnancy fear for many years. They agreed to her surrogacy idea because they believed it would help her overcome her fear. They never considered how it would affect me or how wrong it was to coerce someone into becoming a surrogate. I felt a mixture of emotions. Rage at the deception, relief that the truth had finally been revealed, and a strange sense of vindication. After months of being called selfish and callous, it turns out I was correct all along. My mother spent a long time apologizing. She and my father understood how horribly they had messed up and how unfairly they treated me. They asked whether I could forgive them. I informed her that I needed time to comprehend things. The realization that my entire family had been lying to me for months, if not years, was difficult to process. I replied that I'd think about it and get back to her. Angelina appears to be a hot mess. The pregnancy she worked so hard to avoid has become a reality. Tom refuses to take her back, and Mike wants nothing to do with the baby. She is alone, afraid, and finally confronting the repercussions of her choices. A part of me feels sad for her, but another is still outraged at all the agony she has caused. I'm not sure whether I'll ever be able to have a connection with her again, but I'm trying to find faith in my heart that she'll get the care she needs. So that's where things are now. My family's web of falsehoods has finally unraveled, leaving us all to deal with the consequences. I'm still absorbing everything and trying to figure out how to proceed. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I do know this. I'm glad I kept my stand. If there's one thing I've learnt from all of this, it's that you should always believe your instincts, even if everyone else tells you otherwise. The entire event has caused me to ponder on our family dynamics. Growing up, Angelina was always the golden child, while I was the black sheep. Now it appears that those roles have been flipped. It's an unusual sensation, and I'm not sure how to manage it. I've talked to my therapist about it all. She's guiding me through my feelings of betrayal and rage. It's a slow process, but I'm starting to see results. Regarding my job, the change has been a blessing. I'm working on an intriguing new project that keeps me occupied and diverted from the family drama. My new coworkers are wonderful, and I'm slowly beginning to feel like I belong here. I am still unsure how to proceed with my family. Part of me wants to forgive them and try to repair our connection. Another part of me is frightened of being harmed again. I keep thinking about how many times I've forgiven them only to see them revert back to their old ways. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time. I've informed my folks I need space, and they're surprisingly understanding. Angelina has tried to contact me several times, but I'm not ready to talk to her yet. I'll keep you updated if anything important happens, but for the time being, I'm focusing on healing and going forward with my life. Thank you for your continued support throughout this insane adventure. Update 3. It's been a half year since my last update, so I thought it was appropriate to share where things are now. A lot has changed, and while not everything is perfect, I believe I'm now in a decent place. First, the major news. Angelina gave birth to a little girl around 2 months ago. Despite her anxieties, the pregnancy and birth went well. According to what I've heard, she is adjusting to motherhood better than anyone expected. It appears that the reality of having a child has shifted her perspective on many issues. I wasn't present at the birth, but my parents kept me updated. They sent me images of the baby, and I must admit, she's lovely. It's weird to believe I have a niece now, especially with everything that has transpired. My relationship with my family is difficult. After reflecting on everything, I decided to give my parents the opportunity to make amends. We've had many lengthy, challenging discussions on trust, respect, and boundaries. They have apologized several times and appear to sincerely grasp how bad their acts were. We are gradually restoring our relationship, but it is not the same as before. I'm more careful and guarded now, but I'm also proud of myself for establishing and maintaining clear boundaries. My parents understand that if they try to manipulate or pressure me again, I will not hesitate to cut them off altogether. My friendship with Angelina remains strained. I've seen her and the infant several times, always with other family members present. It's awkward and stressful, but we're respectful. Angelina has apologized for her behavior, but I'm not quite ready to forgive her yet. The loss of confidence was massive and it will take a long time to recover, if it ever does. Angelina is struggling as a single mother, but she is receiving support from our parents and attending treatment to address her worries and difficulties. She has even formed a support group for ladies suffering from tocophobia, fear of pregnancy and childbirth. It's encouraging to see her take measures to confront her issues, even if it's too late to reverse the damage she's created. On a personal note, I am doing great. I've opted to stay in the new city. I've created a life here that I'm content with. My career is going well, and I've made some amazing friends. I've even begun seeing someone. It's early days, but it feels nice to be progressing. The entire surrogacy drama feels like a distant nightmare now. Looking back, I can't believe how insane things went. But I'm glad I had the experience. It taught me a lot about sticking up for myself, setting boundaries, and refusing to compromise my values, even when it was painful. I've also learned a lot about forgiveness, both offering and receiving it. It's not easy, and it won't happen tomorrow, but it is doable. I'm still working on forgiving Angelina, but I've discovered that hanging on to my resentment only harms me in the long term. My therapist has been quite helpful in guiding me through all of this. We've started looking into my childhood experiences and how they've influenced my relationships with my family. It's been eye-opening to see how many of our current problems derive from long-standing patterns. One of the most difficult obstacles has been learning to accept my parents and Angelina as flawed individuals rather than the larger-than-life figures they were while I was growing up. It's a process, but I'm getting there. I've also been attempting to establish a support system outside of my family. My new friends here have been fantastic, providing support and understanding without judgment. It made me realize how much I was missing by constantly prioritizing my family. So that is where things stand right now. My family is slowly recuperating, but we will never be the same as before. I'm creating a life I enjoy on my own terms, and most importantly, I'm content with my choices. To anyone in a similar circumstance, stay firm, believe your instincts, and don't let anyone pressure you into doing something you're not comfortable with, even if they're family. Always make your own decisions about your body. Thank you for your continued support along this journey. Your advice and encouragement benefited me more than you realize. I am not sure if I will update again, but I wanted to let you know that I'm okay, better than fine. I'm thriving.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.